Welcome to the Intuitive Inc. radio show live with your host, Servet Hassan, with another inspiring author who can help you discover your true potential. Live on ClearSource Radio.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Sunday night, and yes, I am indeed Servet Hassan, and I've got a really good show for you tonight, one we could all use because it's about peace. And who couldn't use that? Come on. If you're stuck in chaos, distrust, separation, just plain old crap, this is the show for you. So don't go away. My guest tonight is Dr. Gail Lash. She is a peace explorer. Yes, indeed, there is such a thing, and she is it. She's written a book. It's #Opt for Peace, 9 Essential Steps to Achieving Peace, Power, and Prosperity, and we'll talk all about that. But she started her career as a biologist at Duke University, and she has been a zookeeper at the LA Zoo, Houston Zoo, and then she started designing zoos and wildlife sanctuaries worldwide over the last 20 years. And she's also got a business, and part of that is tourism for peace and promoting peace in all areas of not just your own personal life, but around the world as well. So please welcome Dr. Gail Lash. Hi. Welcome.
Hello, Servet. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so glad to have you because now more than ever, boy, in the world we need peace. And just in our lives in general, peace is a good thing. But all over, it's just really important, the work you're doing. And I'm so glad you're on the show. And I do want to say, the last time I talked to you is when I was on your show, the Peace Brain Show. So I was your guest. So here you are my guest. So it's kind of a full circle here. I like that too. So welcome. Thank you for joining me on a Sunday night when you should be home with your family and everything else. Where are you?
I'm happy to be here with your listeners. This is going to be fun.
Thank you. It is. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Okay, there you go. And is that your hometown? Because I think you have done some Atlanta peace trails, and that's probably why, because you live there, right?
Right. In fact, let me talk about that for just a minute.
Sure, go ahead.
There was a couple of us, actually, back in 2007. One was a city council member here in Atlanta, and then also a woman who's in charge of Partnerships for Peace. And we met a gentleman from Bradford, England. Mm-hmm. And Bradford, England has dubbed itself the City of Peace. And they have a beautiful peace trail that they put together in their city, which basically is a catalog and of various organizations and establishments that have to do with peace that are in the city. And everything from a nursery, the first outdoor nursery, actually, in all of Europe, where kindergarten kids would actually go outdoors and have some contact with nature. That was considered a peace place, all the way to the gentleman who actually created the peace symbol that we use every day now.
Really?
Was also from Bradford,
Who did
England.
That? Who
but
was
nevertheless, they created this booklet and this peace trail, which simply connected and lined up all these different establishments and organizations. And we thought, gee, we could do this in Atlanta, Georgia as well as, of course, any other city in the world. So we got together and we cataloged 39 places here in Atlanta that had either a peace pole, which is something from the World Peace Prayer Society, which is from out of the United Nations, and it says, "May peace prevail on earth" in various languages, or a peace garden or a peace statue. And we put them together, things like the Carter Center here from Jimmy Carter, the former president of the United States, to the Martin Luther King Center is here in Atlanta. The Center for Civil and Human Rights is here. The zoo actually put up a peace pole as well. So we had these wonderful establishments that had peace poles and peace gardens, and we put them together in different locations around the city. So we create Trail A would be like 5 over in this part of the city, and Trail B would be maybe 10 in this area of the city, and created a booklet. And you can go to AtlantaPeaceTrails.com and find out more about that.
Wow. Okay. I hope everyone does that. I hope they all go to, that site. And we'll talk about other sites that you have, and they can probably get information on that on your site as well. But that's fascinating. I had no idea that the guy that designed the peace sign was from Bradford, England. I thought it was someone here. I really did. I thought it was an American. It wasn't, huh?
Well, he actually formed it through the flag. Oh gosh, what do you call them? When we use the flags as a way in the Navy to designate different letters of the alphabets.
Right.
And of course, it was really for nuclear disarmament, is what it really said. The N and the D is what the symbols are. When you put your arms down out to the side, that's one of the letters, and then the arms straight up and down is the other. But he also said it really meant for unity. If you turn it upside down, it creates for the letter U in the flag alphabet. So, to me, the proper now symbol to use for peace would be the upside down peace symbol.
Yes, I would agree. Unity is exceptionally important, especially right now in our own country here.
And of course, that also brings in the tree of life. That visual.
Oh, you're right. It does. Fascinating visual there. Yes, you're right. Oh, now I have to ask you, how did you go from, biology, the zoos, wildlife sanctuaries? I get that, and I can see how nature would kind of propel you into this area of life. But you really now you have tourism for peace, and you're promoting peace, and peace has become your brand, your career. It is your life. So how did that happen?
Wow, that's a great question, Servette. It really, started as a kid where I wanted to escape my house because there was a lot of yelling going on in my childhood, and it just wasn't a peaceful place. So I found a wonderful little pond on the other side of our neighborhood that had fish and ducks and trees and, wonderful grass. I could sit there and feed bread to the ducks. And so I actually found my peace in nature. And, of course, that then propelled me, as you said, to be a biologist. Went to Duke University, studied animal behavior, became an animal biologist, but also working in zoos, but then also in animal behavior, now in animal communication with my spiritual side that I've developed also, with the scientific side, learning clairvoyance and how to telepathically talk to animals. But realizing that when we travel around the world, because in my graduate studies, working in economics and policy of natural resources, looking at particularly at ecotourism, how tourism based on nature can not only bring in revenue for local communities, but also protect and preserve the wildlife and the forest, that I realized we're all the same around the world. And, of course, you're a world traveler as well. You know this, that despite the different cultures, the different ethnicities, the different languages, we really want all the same thing for our families, our kids. We want to make a difference. We want to have education and shelter and be creative in who we each are. So I realized that when we get to know each other, we can create peace. And that really is what spurred me to go from biology into economics and anthropology and then sustainable development and into world travel and then really into peace studies, and realizing that when I went to Switzerland and took a class on education for peace that was based in Herzegovina and Bosnia, that it was about bringing peace education into the schools, into every subject for each of the children. And that's really interesting when you start looking at how we can connect peace to your athletics, how you can connect peace to the history classes, to math classes, to the way that people have dialogue in the cafeteria at lunchtime.
Right.
And we were challenged as a group, or individually as the whole group though, to form our own company or our own brand, as you're saying, from those studies. And so that's how Tourism for Peace was actually born in Switzerland in 2003, realizing I could combine my economics and my my environmental tourism with peace.
Right. That's fascinating, really, honestly, because Opt for Peace, hashtag Opt for Peace is the name of your book, but it's everything you're doing. It is your brand. And to me, it's not just a book or a brand. It's sort of a movement, you know? That's why I wanted you on the show, because when I looked at what hashtag Opt for Peace is all about, it's not just finding peace in your own life, which is a good thing, and we're going to talk about that, but it's just, because when you are at peace, then the world becomes more peace. We can't change the whole world, but we can change ourselves, which actually does change the world. Because if more people, that's why Mother Teresa had a wonderful quote that I never forgot. She said, "I will never attend an anti-war rally. If you have a peace rally, invite me."
Yes.
And I never forgot that. So I never all these, let's war on drugs. And I'm like, no war on drugs. Let's promote not needing drugs. So you're doing this in your way, and I'm a big fan. So anyway,
you bring up a couple of great points, and one particularly, as you just said, from Mother Teresa, it's really about focusing on what we want. What do we want the world to look like? Not what we want to change, not what we don't want. Mm-hmm. And that, of course, goes with the law of attraction and everything else we're learning in those realms. But I challenge you, and every listener, in other words, to what kind of dinner party do you want to create? And I'll just use that as an example. If you plan a wonderful dinner party, what do you want to serve the guests, and what kind of lighting do you want? And do you want it outdoors, maybe with tiki torches and a luau, or do you want it by an ocean with a nice breeze, or do you want great music and soft music to be playing in the background, and of course invite the guests to have great conversation? And so we plan these things. We know what we want. We really do. Mm-hmm. It's about putting it into action and going forth and creating it.
Right.
And we know how to do that.
We do, but here's the thing. It's the opposite of peace to me is fear. So,
Yes.
like they say in Course in Miracles is what I'm trying to think. The opposite of fear is love, and that's fine. They can do that, but I've never felt that way. I've always felt that the opposite of love is hate, and the opposite of fear is peace, particularly peace of mind. So it's fear that stops peace a lot of times. Do you think?
I do.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't thought of it that way. But yes, it is when we get into fear, we get paralyzed. We get closed down to options. And that's really what the book is about. It's about options. It's about opting,
right.
for peace, choosing peace. Mm-hmm. So yes, getting out of that fear, getting out of that paralyzed, I've got this, as some people say, fear, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real.
Right.
It's usually in our mind.
That's right. That was John Wooden, the coach at UCLA, that started that. I love that. A false evidence appearing real. And it's true. And that stops most of us from, I can't do that. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to pay bills. I got to keep that job because there's insurance. I've got to, whatever. I had a woman at a workshop not long ago and said, I can't do any of these things. I'm on a fixed income. I can't travel and go to these places and do things. And I said, well, who fixed it? Somebody fixed your, it's like,
right,
you can come out of that box if you want to, but it's a lot of people are more comfortable being a tiny bit miserable, if that makes sense.
It does. We're comfortable with our habits. Yes.
Right. And I'm a firm believer, I'm a cancer survivor. So one of the things I was studying was that there was a medical study in Japan where they were saying, don't fight anything. It's about peace. Welcome the cancer. So that shifted my mind, and I'm actually writing about it right now, but it's kind of like, so what am I learning? What is this giving me? How am I growing? What's it teaching me? Instead of saying, oh my God, I've got this disease, go away, I hate you. I never did that. I stopped and I went, you know what? The way to cure anything and to be healthy and happy is to be at peace. So I would meditate and go into that place of, what is it? What is this about? And then it sort of went away. Not that easily. There's a long story to that. But does that make sense? Does that where you're...
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And it takes action as well. You know, I think it takes that choice you just mentioned to step out of the fear, to cross the line and say, I'm going to learn the lesson that it's providing, but also I'm going to take action to actually not just learn it, but do it.
Well, how do people give me an example? How can someone who's not at peace right now, how can they take that? What action should they take?
Well, the very first thing is to just stop and breathe. We forget that we can actually pause. You know, we are going so fast in our digital age that really the street. I've got this wonderful 3 steps to peace that we can go over here. It's about stopping first and just assessing, you know, okay, I have a choice. I can get neutral. I can go into my heart and I can actually look at what's going on. Because many times we don't stop and take focus on what's actually happening here in this situation. And the second step is to reflect, to see what's working and what's not, and really to find the truth in the situation. Because many times we come into a situation and we think, you know, someone's maybe doing us an injustice or angry at us for something or did us wrong or whatever. But really, there's an underlying truth to that situation that may not be what you think is happening. And the last step, the third step, is to opt for peace. It really is to take an action that returns you back to balance and back to your purpose.
Right. And is part of that creating peaceful places that you're promoting as well? Like gardens and like your pond when you were a little girl, you know?
Yes. So this gets us back to the movement you were talking about.
Right. It is a movement.
You know, this really is a movement because Opt for Peace really is about creating, as you just mentioned, these places of peace, or I'm calling them peace parks, because I really want them to be out in nature. Yes. There are so many scientific studies and just psychological studies done to show how much nature improves our human well-being, and our stress level goes down, and you know, all of that. So it's when we create these peace parks, we can then, as I said in Atlanta Peace Trails, link them by location and create something called World Peace Trails. And so I do have a website, worldpeacetrails.com. That's the beginning of this effort. Then I encourage people to put a marker in, to do a peace garden, a peace poll, to perhaps create a peace program that really provides, these places are really to provide dialogue among the community of how we can solve our issues that the community needs to solve, you know, things like bullying in schools or, new transportation for your city or whatever you might want in your area. How can we get together, get to know each other, do Tai Chi, yoga, you know, meditation, of course, all these beautiful Zen-type things that we can do in nature, but also have world cafes and dialogue and be able to just enjoy, have scientific lectures to get to, as we said, get to know each other. So that's the global vision is World Peace Trails.
Well, we are all one. You know, when you said it earlier, it's like when you really stop and think about when it's not abstract, it's true. I mean, everyone in the world pretty much wants the same thing. We want, you know, to have a good life, to be safe, to have our children be safe, to have them grow up in a safe environment and to be happy. We're not, and most people are good people. You know, it's hard to see sometimes, but really they are. They're trying to just live a good life, you know? They're not.
Yes.
They're not different. They're not that different. We're all one here on this planet. And I say that because I was born in Pakistan and I grew up I'm a British citizen, a Canadian citizen, and an American citizen, which is why I asked about England, because I grew up, my childhood was there. And I consider myself just a citizen of the world. Someday that's going to be what everybody is, a citizen of the world, where you can be a citizen of the world, not just say that. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yes,
that's where we're heading. And you made another really good point there. Nature is really important. It's good. I mean, I tell people when they're really stressed out a lot of times, or chaotic, or not knowing where to go, what direction to go in, because we do need to know where we're going to get there, sort of, kind of. I have them take off their shoes and barefoot walk on grass. Do you know how many people have not walked on grass in years? And I find that's fascinating to me, that it doesn't, a lot of people don't know what that's like. And there's something really peaceful about walking outside on grass, barefoot, with the sun and the birds, and just in nature, not on a patch of grass in the middle of a city with cars flying by, but it could be a park in the city, but you have to get in there a little. It makes a huge difference. It really does, I think.
And you're right, it really does, because first of all, you're grounding, you're connecting with the earth, and that's really huge energetically. Your body is made of the earth and is connecting with it. But you're right. There's been studies. I was looking up the different studies, and they say that 95% of our time is spent indoors. I mean, think about that.
Wow.
95% of
95? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
So we're not getting outside. We're just the very fact we need to get outdoors. We need to connect with the sunlight and with the wind and the air outside and nature and the birds and all of that and the ground. Yes.
Right. And I think it does promote peace within yourself, because really, honestly, it's just about being quiet sometimes. And nature's not quiet, but it's a different sound. I mean, I purposely walk my dog by the ocean every single morning. I don't care, hell or high water. It could be, foggy, rainy, snowing, hailing, whatever. It doesn't snow here, but I won't, it's 1 mile every single day, and it's down by the water and back up by the grass and around, and I can't live without that, because it really does, that's my time, my quiet meditation time. I do meditate as well, but I couldn't live without that. And some people never do that. Obviously, 95% of time being spent inside, those people aren't doing that,
You're right. And even though we're bringing green into buildings, which is very important actually, to bring, green roofs and then actually grow food inside these corporate buildings. Japan's doing that. They're doing that a lot in Mexico and other places. So it's bringing the greenery indoors is really important. But really getting out into nature and walking on a forest trail is so much more beneficial for our bodies and our minds than just walking a city street. They were pointing out, some study was pointing out that people's cognitive abilities went up if they were walking on a forest trail than walking in a city street. It had no effect on them. So it's interesting that even though 80% of the world lives in urban centers, we need to get out. We need to start creating these greeneries, these parks, these places in our urban areas that we can actually connect to nature.
Right, exactly. And you know what I would like? And it probably will never happen, but I would like it to have a sign on the front when you're entering the park that says, no cell phones. Put them away. Shut them off. I cannot tell you how many people I see in the morning on those walks. You see the same people who say good morning, whatever. But half of them never say good morning back because they're listening to, or they're talking, or they're on their phone. They're still on their phone, and they're missing it. They're missing everything around them. They're not seeing the sky and the clouds and the water or the nothing. They're lost. Mm-hmm. And so that's the same thing as walking on a city street then, to me.
That's true. Even if you're listening, I guess, to a great lecture or some wonderful music, you're absolutely correct. You're missing the surroundings around you. So
that's right.
You're right.
That's right.
Be better without the cell phones.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think it's just half an hour. Just put it away, just that short period of time. You can do without it. I mean, I take my phone for an emergency, but I don't look at it. I won't look at it when I'm walking. They're going to wait till I'm done. I think that's important too, because peace is about finding what works for you, And I think that you can't. Do you meditate every day, Gail?
I meditate in some form or other, at least for a few minutes. And the reason I say some form or another, it could be actually sitting down in silence and meditating, or it could be listening to some 528 hertz music, or it could be listening. It could be actually just sitting and petting my dog and getting into that Zen mode with them. So it takes different forms. We have actually in front of our house, we have put a labyrinth in our front yard. Oh. And a labyrinth is a walking meditation garden.
Yes.
And that is our place of peace that we have there. It has a peace pole that says, "May peace prevail on earth," in 4 languages. And so I will go out and walk the labyrinth occasionally, and not every day, unfortunately. I can do that, but I sometimes don't choose to do that. But It is a beautiful place where not only we can walk, but the whole community comes, because we're listed on a labyrinth locator. If you go to labyrinthsociety.org, they have a locator. You can type in any city in the world and see if they have a labyrinth or mini labyrinths there that is open to the public. And ours is. Sometimes we look out at midnight and people are walking our labyrinth.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done one, but the last one I did was on the top of a mountain, not a very high mountain, but it was a high enough mountain, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful. Now, you talk about a peace pole. You mentioned it a few times. Can anyone go and buy one somewhere? Where are you getting a peace pole?
So go to worldpeace.org.
Okay.
Good URL, right? That's the World Peace Prayer Society. And they have a peace pole project that you can click on and find out how to purchase a pole from them, with your choice of languages. Or, of course, you can make your own.
Right.
So there's also a wonderful organization I'll give a shout-out to called Posts for Peace and Justice. I think .org or .com, I've forgotten which. But they do workshops and basically get the community together to buy a vinyl fence post from Home Depot or Lowe's or, whatever store you want to buy it from, and paint it with different symbols according to whatever topic you want it to be for peace. So, for example, you could do a poll on education. You could do a poll on empowering girls. You could do a poll on Black Lives Matter. You could do a poll on police and community coming together. You could do whatever the topic might be. And so it's really wonderful because you can then put it wherever you want your peace park to be, or as they do, it actually travels the country and goes to schools and to different organizations and venues and events to promote peace.
Wow. I want one. I'm going to get one. I am. I'm going to go to worldpeace.org and get one. Because it's a nonprofit organization, I'm sure, right?
Yes.
And the money's going to go to a very good cause for peace, so I'm going to do that. I want one. I do. In 4 languages that I will pick very carefully. Yeah, exactly. I love that idea. Now, we're already halfway through the show. I can't believe it. We are. So I am gonna. I know. I could keep talking to you forever. We haven't even talked about your book yet. But anyway, I do want to tell everybody out there that's tuning in or has been listening, we're talking to Dr. Gail Lash, and she is a peace explorer. And part of that, her whole goal here is hashtag opt for peace, not only with her new book, but in her life and creating parks and doing all kinds of things that are promoting peace around the world. And we could sure use that. And not just around the world, but within yourself as well. So we're going to start talking now about how metaphysics played a part in that so that people can apply some of these principles to their own lives too. And so I'm going to open the lines for anyone that wants to call in, 949-313-8880. If anybody out there has a question about how to be more peaceful or find peace, if you're not at peace, this is the woman to ask. So call it, put your, don't be shy. Put that away and call in now, 949-313-8880. And Gail, tell everyone how they can find you and your new book when it comes out later this year. It's not out yet. And the name of the book is hashtag opt for peace, 9 essential steps to achieving peace, power, and prosperity. How can they find out more about you and your work?
You can find out more about me, and thank you, Servet, at
You're welcome.
tourismforpeace.com. And that's tourism and then FOR and then peace.com. That has that has everything I do, which is lots and lots of things.
Yeah,
everything, as you mentioned, from science to metaphysics. And then also go to worldpeacetrails.com, and there is a section on that is called Opt for Peace that goes to the Opt for Peace website, and it talks about how you can create these places of peace and get on our World Peace Trails map. And it's also where our book will be, my book will be presented, which should come out in this fall, actually. So
great.
Through Balboa Press.
Exactly. I can't wait. And then, of course, you are also on all kinds of social media, I'm sure. Right?
Oh, yes.
And
yes, we have a Facebook page and Twitter. Peace Explorer is the Twitter account. We're on YouTube. Let's see, what else?
Well, its Facebook is Tourism for Peace, right?
It's Tourism for Peace.
Right. Okay, and I've got to say, I've got to give a shout out here for the Peace Brain Show, because I was a guest on that, and that is bbsradio.com, correct?
It is, yes.
I remember that. Yeah, there you go. It's a fabulous show because I know I was on it. So there.
Yes, you were. So it's got to be great.
No, it's great anyway. Yeah, exactly. It's wonderful. Now I wanted to ask you about the metaphysical aspect and how not only how it entered your book and everything, your life. You started out with the zoos and everything else. And then,
I started out as a scientist, a biologist, because I really wanted things to be proven, predictable, certain, and then realized it really is about going within. As you said, when we find peace within ourselves, we can not only change ourselves, but change the world. And so I remember, I think I was probably in Ecuador doing my graduate studies, studying a women's cooperative at a little village at the foot of a reserve, a cloud forest reserve, and looking at how they interacted with tourists and how they used natural products to make their crafts. And realized, I really, connecting with the spirit of nature, I need to go within and find out more about who I am, what my spirit is here to do, where I go from here, and really had some soul-searching questions and found answers that I needed to come back and work on that spiritual side of myself. So I ended up actually taking a yoga class where the teacher asked, well, why are you here? And to everyone in the group, and I had to laugh because I said, I'm here to learn how to connect with my spirit and my spirit guides. And another lady in the class said, I have the class for you. And she turned me on to some metaphysical classes, clairvoyant training, intuitive insights, and really I became a clairvoyant reader and psychic and metaphysician, and ended up helping birth a center here in Atlanta that was a school for spiritual training called Horizon Healing Center, or Horizon Center for Intuitive Awareness, which is now closed actually just a couple years ago, but it was open for around 15 years, where I taught classes and did healings with people. And so I realized that, we're, as you very well know, we are both spirit and our physical life. So it's about combining that science and that spiritualist of who we are, that brings us to the wholeness of really what we're here for, our purpose.
Right.
So that's when I found out my purpose was peace.
Right. I totally get where you're coming from, because you really do. I mean, I think we're all intuitive, and you had an opportunity to kind of develop it, and then took it to that next step. So that took you to peace, which is great. Which took me to women's rights and things like that, that I worked so hard for. So whatever that was that takes you there, that's what we all need and want. And you find that when you stop, when you don't care what other people think, when you become your authentic self,
You're correct.
Yeah.
That's really what we learned in the clairvoyant training, is to learn when it's not my problem.
Yeah, exactly.
How to be detached.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
One of my mentors, besides some wonderful gurus over the years, many years, it was Terry Cole Whitaker, who was a best-selling author for 100 years, and her first best-selling book was What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. And yes. I never forgot that book, and as the first thing I said to her, where did that come from? And she said, because that's the key to everything. And I said, she's right. She was right.
And you're right. That gets back to where you had said that the opposite of fear is peace.
Right.
Because fear is when we get caught up in what you think of me is my business.
Right.
And that promotes the fear. Is she going to like me? Am I going to do something right or wrong?
Right.
How am I going to look to this person? All of those fears, when really it's none of our business.
No, and it's even none of our business when it comes to how's that going to happen. I can't do that. I'll never get there. I'm not good enough. That's the major fear, or the fear of the future. If I get that job, will I get that job? Now I got the job. Will I keep the job? Will they fire me tomorrow? Will I get the man? If I get the man, will he leave me? Will he want to be with someone else? It's all these things that go on in a person's mind that have nothing really. You have to stay in the moment. And just do what's good for you now, and not bring the past into it, and not bring the future into it, and just be at peace now.
Yes.
And I think
you hit the nail on the head.
Okay. Thank you, Gail. I love this. Okay, let's talk about the book.
Okay.
Where did the idea for the book come from? We're running out of time, so we're going to.
Great question.
Yeah.
So I have to laugh, because in 2015, first of all, I am a member of REI, which is Recreational Equipment Incorporated.
Right.
It's a very large sporting goods outdoor.
Right. We all know it here.
Store.
Yeah, we have it here.
Exactly. There's 154 stores, I think, in the United States, and it's something like a $2 billion business, So anyway, in 2015, they put out a marketing campaign, and I'll say it is a marketing campaign, but it's brilliant. And they decided that on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, they would close all their retail outlets and stores. They would stop processing their internet orders, and they would give all their employees, all 12,000 of them, a paid day off. And they created something called Opt Outside. They encouraged all of their customers to opt outside, to spend that day outside in nature, hiking, biking, skiing, swimming, whatever it is that you love to do outdoors, and to get outdoors, and then to actually write in and send in photos with what you did that day, and they put it up on their website. So they had over 1 million people, 1.4 million people chose to hashtag opt outside on Black Friday in 2015. Wow. And it was such a success, obviously, that in 2016 they decided to do it again. And over 6 million people decided to opt outside on that day.
Good for them.
And then it became, I know, it became this movement that a whole bunch of affiliates and other organizations decided to do the same thing, close their doors on Black Friday, get people out into nature, really enjoy our earth and our beautiful planet we live on, and enjoy your activities in it. And then come back to your world, on Monday morning to go back to work.
Right.
But it is a wonderful, it gave me such inspiration to say, okay, they created Opt Outside, I can create Opt for Peace.
Oh, that's where it came from.
Focus.
Wonderful. Oh, that's fantastic. Because, not everyone is like, everybody kind of has, I want to write a book, but when they figure out what it is to write a book, I've written 3 for Llewellyn, Worldwide Publishers. It's not an easy task, so it's kind of like, but I know with your show and everything else you've done that you could pull that together. But I wondered where hashtag Opt for Peace came from. And that's fantastic. Yeah, and I love REI. They're well known for helping people get outside of the box and getting people outside, and their products are awesome. So then you said, okay, like I said, it's not just a book, Gail. It's a movement. You are proof to me that peace is prosperous and practical and absolutely possible. So you can't stop doing what you're doing. So you got this together and you did this hashtag Opt for Peace. And then how did you come up with this 9 essential steps to achieving peace, power, and prosperity? Because that's the rest of the title.
It is. And so 9 is a sacred number.
Right.
It is the highest number before we reach completion, which is 1, coming back in full cycle into the 10. And so 9 just is a sacred number. So I chose 9 because I knew that this would work as far as 9 steps. And indeed, when I started putting the names to the steps, it really did come out to 9, which worked out beautifully. But it's not just about peace. It's also about power and prosperity. And I'll add those in because peace is what I want the world to become and to honor and to accept that we can have a peaceful world. And the peaceful world, as we were saying, starts with yourself in the present moment to be peaceful inside. But also then, what is your gift to really creating that societal peace? How can we achieve peace in society? So the power part of it really is about your power to influence, your power to be in charge of yourself, to be in command of oneself. And that is both energetic and physically, just being in your healthful state, being in a job that you love and that you can have influence with others over. So we all have these spheres of influence and people, our tribe, if you will, that we run around with and that we communicate with and make a difference with.
Right.
So thinking about who your tribe is. And the prosperity part is what I had said before about that dinner party. Thinking of the world as a place of well-being. How can it look to be a place where everyone has what they need, everyone has the ability to be their creative force of nature, that they each come in divinely given when it's their birthright, and we each have a gift to give to the world, at least one, if not many, that we bring prosperity to the world. So the peace, power, prosperity goes together, and the 9 steps, I'll just give you the table of contents, 9 steps.
Hell, I know what they are. I can tell you. They are nobility, stillness, connection, prosperity, power, sanctuary, which I found interesting, creativity, service, very important, and peace. Right?
Yes, you're correct.
Yeah. There you go. I had to do that because I loved all 9 steps. So I made note of them because it's important. And that's why people should pick up your book, because really we can't go into all of them in depth. But out of the 9, which one would hit home for our listeners the most, do you think? That'd be hard. That'd be hard for me.
You know, you mentioned sanctuary. I just want to clarify it for a moment.
Go ahead.
Because the sanctuary is what I've talked about already. It's creating that peace park. It's creating those peace trails. It's creating a place where we can feel like it is a sanctuary within our city, within our community. Like that little pond that I found in the neighborhood that was my sanctuary as a child. Right. And we need these places where we can commune with nature, where we can find that inner stillness within ourselves, but also have a place to bring friends and to have dialogue and to connect with people. So that one is really important, and it could be, you know, I encourage everyone, like we created the labyrinth out in front of our yard, to create at your business a place that's right outside your business, or maybe in a courtyard that has some plants and, you know, is a green space that you can have as a sanctuary for your particular place. A store or a school or a church, a hospital, all of these places can have a peace park attached to them.
Right.
So that, start to think in your community, you know, I know we're not talking about the inner stillness or the inner peace, and I can do that in a few minutes if you choose. But this sanctuary part is, what would you want your community to look like? And where might there be a park already in existence that your community could rally around to become a peace park?
That's right. That's awesome. And also, to me, I mean, you can also have a sanctuary within your own little space, too. I think that's important, because I have a sanctuary within my home, too. You know, a little place that is my little sanctuary. And then I also have my outside ones. So, touch on stillness very quickly, because we're running out of time. And I understand. I think...
Well,
you
mentioned it, actually. One really great tool, peace tool, if you will, is to ground yourself.
Right.
Is to walk on the grass with bare feet, is to feel a connection with Mother Earth, to really visualize a beautiful grounding cord, a beam of light or a tree trunk or a waterfall coming out of the base of your spine, going all the way down to the center of the planet. And just let all the troubles, all the past and future, you know, worries that we have go down that grounding cord and be recycled into Mother Earth to bring you into that present moment, that present awareness and aliveness that we each are.
Right.
So that's the first peace tool.
Right. There's a nobility, stillness, connection, prosperity, power. They're all important. Sanctuary, creativity, and I think I would pick this one, service, too, as very important, because our gifts are given to us for a reason. They're given to us to share. And the more we share, the more we become our authentic self, and we come into our own being, and then that's where the power comes from, too, I think, is just being who you are and not letting anyone hold you back or deciding that other people's opinions matter, and you just can give back what you're getting, and then I think you create more of the same. You create more prosperity from that, right? Yes, you're very correct. That service, we forget the fear when we get into service. Yes. Even if we do something that's outside our comfort zone, that just brings that warm feeling within your heart that you really do matter. And we each do. We each have that huge capacity to bring peace and service to the world. Oh, I had a guru once. Any problem anybody came to him with, his answer was meditate. But then the second answer was, honestly and truly, I don't care what the problem was, there was meditate and feed a child. That was
nice.
it. I mean, I was in a different country, so yeah, it was really, that was it. Feed a child. Didn't care what child, who child, whatever. Just stop. I don't want to hear your problem. Go feed a child. That was it. So there's something to be said for that, you know. There's something when you it gets you outside of yourself, you know.
Yes, exactly.
And then you realize when you do that, we all are one. We all are. You know,
and that ultimately, Servette, is what's going to bring peace to the world.
Yes.
It's when we realize that unity, you know, and that compassion for all living things.
Right, because really we're all connected. We all have the same, we're all beings of that same one light, I think, you know, so you can't separate a wave from the ocean. So I think someday everyone will figure that out, you know, and when we do, we will be at peace.
Yes.
And we will be citizens.
In that ocean.
Right. And we will be citizens of the world, you know, instead of a
And you
country.
can actually go out and purchase, I think, passports that says citizens of the world now.
Okay.
I'm not sure where, I've forgotten, but I have heard that we can do that. So
well, yeah, we should.
It's already begun.
Well, there you go. Maybe I started it in another lifetime. No, it's wonderful. This has been such a great show. We're out of time. So
I know.
No one called in, but you know what's going to happen, Gail, is a lot of people are going to have questions about finding more peace in their life or questions about a peaceful or many of the things we talked about, and I will get 9,700 emails tomorrow. So if someone has a question, can they find you, and which website would be best? Because there's quite a few we mentioned.
Yes. The best website is tourismforpeace.com, and you can actually email me at hello@tourismforpeace.com if you want to connect with me directly. Okay. So please do check out the website, and I'd love to hear from you.
Dr. Gail Lash, you have been a delight, and your work is really important because, again, I'm not looking at it as your work, and I hope you don't either. It is a movement. And I think if the movement moves enough, which it will because it's a movement, it can change the world. I know it can. And so I'm honored and thrilled to know you and to have you on my show and to be a part of your life. And I hope that we continue to stay in touch and that you continue to be back on my show. You know, when the book comes out, let's have you back, okay?
Okay. Thanks, Servette. It's been a delight, and thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome, and thank you for being with me on a Sunday night. Thank you, Gail. Take care. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
What a great show, guys. She's awesome. I love her. And again, it was tourismforpeace.com, and her name is Dr. Gail Lash. She is officially, quote unquote, Peace Explorer. That's her job title. I want that job title. I want a job title like that, Peace Explorer, you know? It's awesome. I'm not a Peace Explorer. Maybe I'm anyway, we won't get into that. We're running out of time. We've got to go. But I just want to say, if you want to find out anything else about me, when my new title of something like Peace Explorer comes out, I'm working on a lot of things right now, and that's not one of them. But you can go to ServetteHassan.com, ServetteHassan.com. I love hearing from all of you. I get tons of emails and all of your comments and suggestions and just I love all your emails, so continue to do it. I can't answer all of them, but within a few days, but I do answer everybody, and people know that. So you can email me at Servette, SERVET, at ServetteHassan.com. I still do private consultations for spiritual counseling and just helping people move forward in their lives. My goal is to get people unstuck. That's where I go, because so many of us get into fear, and we talked about that just a little while ago, because really what stops us from moving forward and getting into a place of peace in our lives, which is achieving what we want, which brings us peace, is fear, and we get stuck. And so, that's why these books and everything else are important. And that's what I do when I do private consultations. I'm doing quite a few workshops, but they're private right now, so I will be doing more public ones later on after the summer. And I will have podcasts out shortly. This Clear Source Radio is now a part of iHeartRadio, so we're going to be doing a lot more podcasts, that type of thing, and a blog, and I have a new website coming out, and I've got all kinds of things. The new book I mentioned on the show tonight, and there will be a website for that. There's lots coming up. I've got a great show next week. Please tune in again. I love you all, and you know what I'm going to say after all of that, right? Here you go.
Thank you for listening to the Intuitive Inc. radio show with Servet Hassan. Remember to be you to the full, because that is what is truly beautiful. Be sure to tune in next Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for another dose of inspiration here on Clear Source Radio. Get the free app at clearsourceradio.com.